Boom!
Welcome to Thunder Nerds. I'm Brian Hinton.
And I'm Frederick Philip von Weiss, and thank you for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology
that love what they do
and do tech good.
We got it!
Nailed it. Hey, we are at VueConf 2019.
Yeah.
Good job. You got the year again.
I did. Yeah, it's very difficult
this
for me.
Year?
Yeah.
In the year now?
And where are we at?
Tampa, Florida, at the
Strass Center.
Yeah, and we're
Performing
here
Arts.
with a very special guest. We're here with Mike Hartington.
Detective
Mike
Right.
Hartington
I've seen some things in my day.
of the LAPD.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Works
Mike,
closely with
You actually do some good Jaws things, right?
I've been known to do a few Jaws things.
Let's hear it.
For 40,000, I'll bring in the whole head, the whole damn thing, and you'll love it. You just gotta get the really.
The glare
It's
in your
almost like
eye.
it's almost mumbling too, is the
Yeah.
way he says it, which is crazy. What do you think of Meg? Did you see it?
I have not seen that, so I
Okay.
saw it and I was like, "Is this a movie about? Is this a movie about someone's eggs?" And it's like, "Oh,
yeah.
no, it's a shark movie."
I know the name is like what?
Like Mega Shark? But
No,
just
no,
Meg.
Just
Meg.
Meg.
Just Meg.
Yeah.
No, that's
Right.
not. Yeah.
I liked it.
Mismarketing.
Like Meg, like Family Guy Meg, but a shark?
See, that's what people would think, Meg. And then people would just go, who wants to watch anything about Meg?
No.
Yeah.
It's a Meg episode?
Meg.
No.
Yeah.
Next.
All right.
Yeah, exactly. It's a Meg episode, everyone. We know that the remotes are right there. We don't blame you.
Mike, what do you actually do? Let's get a little bit of context about you.
So I'm a developer for Ionic. I do a lot of DevRel, speaking, helping people, and also work on the framework itself, making features, and trying to break things not badly.
Uh-huh.
So I try to ship things that are somewhat working in most of my day, and then everyone else can come in and fix it, and I can sit back. It's like, I helped, kind of.
Well, you help fix it. It's rather what's the saying? Break fast, succeed quickly. Something like that?
Sure.
Yeah. So what's Ionic?
So Ionic's a framework for building apps, whether you want to deploy native iOS, native Android, web, Electron. You can use it all with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Bindings are basically every framework that you want to use.
Okay.
Maybe announcing something pretty
jQuery?
cool.
Ooh.
Sure, you could use jQuery if you want.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
I heard Ionic was actually developed in a drunken stupor in a cabin somewhere in the woods. Is that correct? Were these your words?
I think the story goes the original our
I'm paraphrasing.
CEO was at a cabin and was just like, I could do something better, and he quite literally did. And it's one of those things like, well, Max, you did a really good job. So congratulations. 5 years later, I'm still here. It's like, it's gonna be okay.
Didn't it start with React? Wasn't that the first? Was React the first framework?
No,
Or
so
what was the first?
back when we originally released, we were Angular JS.
Oh, okay.
But we had this like super ambitious goal to support like Angular JS, Ember, Knockout, Backbone. When that was kind of like the frameworks that you
those were
could,
the big ones.
yeah.
Big ones.
And as we moved on, we went to Angular 2 at the time, Angular now, and we decided it's like, well, Angular's great. It's a great ecosystem community there, but there's all these other developers out there that we want to be able to offer something to, who maybe it makes sense to use this framework and this choice. So we thought, how can we do this? And we figured out with web components, we can target Angular, Vue, React, and give something to everyone.
Yeah.
Not limit ourselves to either one ecosystem.
Cool.
No, I have a controversial drama question. Ionic versus Flutter. Like, what is your opinion?
I think it depends. Like everything, it depends.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for the Flutter team and a lot of great things that they're doing. Dart's not particularly my strong point, but if you are a person who loves Dart and loves that,
It's for you.
go use Flutter. That's all that matters. It's
Options too.
Right. It's like everyone can improve when there's more options, and there's more competition pushing everyone to a better solution.
That's a I mean,
Well,
I don't want to say that's political, but I mean, I think that's an accurate statement. That I mean, it's very true because no matter what you use as a tool, if it gets the results, it gets the results. And like you said, we all use these different tools, and they help each other out, being because they come up with these different ways to do things that might be, oh, you know what, that solves a problem here. Oh, this solves a problem there, and it helps us all evolve.
Right. I mean, if you think that, like, even not even looking at, say, Flutter versus Ionic or something, but like you think React versus Angular, well, it's not really a great opinion or like a thing to bring to the table, because ideas that came from React have now populated in both Vue and Angular. You know, if it wasn't for like Redux, I don't think we would be talking about Vuex in Vue or NGRX or any Redux implementation in Angular. Like, there are ideas that can help cross-pollinate and grow the ecosystems all around the board.
Yeah, because you're going to say, oh, you know what, I wish I could do that like I could do in React or so forth.
Like before Redux, I don't think anyone was really thinking about state management in client-side apps. It's like, oh, okay, well, there may have been a few on like, Flux, but like Redux really put it on the map, and it's like, oh, this is a thing we should care about, not just in React, but like in Vue and Angular. It's like all frameworks should care about this stuff. So it's cross-pollination of ideas.
Yeah.
So what's your talk going to be about? Is it today or tomorrow?
So my talk's tomorrow.
Tomorrow night, right?
Second to last. I think I'm moving up. No longer a lightning talk, but I'm not the last talk. I'm going to talk about some of the stuff we've been doing in Ionic to support Vue. So last year we did like a quick little sneak peek of what we could do with Ionic and Vue with no particular bindings. And so over this past year, we've been working on some Ionic Vue bindings. So if you want to build an app with Vue and want to have that streamlined process, we should be able to support that. So we've been working on that, and hopefully, if everything goes well, we'll have a nice surprise to share.
So yeah, you alluded to this surprise. What is? Can you give us maybe even like a smidge more? Like,
just a taste.
You heard it at Thunder Nerds only.
Exclusive.
Yeah, nowhere else.
Is it live?
This is live.
It'll be really great.
Bruh.
I should give you the bro.
Bruh. That's not.
So you heard it first. It'll be great.
It'll be
Great.
Girl.
It'll be great.
Great. Well, so speaking of your talk, one of the things I like to talk about is kind of, people don't realize the amount of work that does go into these. What did you do to prepare and build your talk, and why did you decide to do this specific talk exactly, and just the whole process?
So I guess why I wanted to talk about this, because there seems to be like this idea that Ionic is for one framework, or that we don't support any other framework, or that web components in general can't be used in any meaningful way. So I want to go off first and kind of share like, hey, these things are ready for prime time and they can be used any framework. And then for the binding side, I was like, this isn't something that's like hacked together. It's like this is a careful consideration of like user experience, what the developer would want to work with, and show like what you can do, and just kind of like, here's like a demo, go play around with it, hack with it, and give us some feedback, because we really want the feedback. Basically, that's what I'm looking for after this, is like, have you tried it? What do you think? What are the bad parts? Please tell me what they are, if they exist, and what I can do to fix them. So I'm looking for feedback. As we're building out the slides, I'm a tried and true fan of the bullet point list. I do all like my high level kind of like, what's my slide kind of like title or like point, and then as soon as I get like the high level ideas, I start like fleshing out all the individual things. It's super boring. I've heard some people do like mind maps, where it's like the center idea and they just branch off. But I'm a very structured kind of approach to it, and it helps me stay organized.
Well, with MindNode, I don't know if you ever use MindNode.
Oh, I love MindNode.
You can actually do it your way, where there's a like a layer type view where you can actually type in like an outline, and then it'll build a mind map and left as a way of like visually comparing like your
Mind
thoughts. Yeah.
MindNode, yeah.
I highly recommend it.
Super nice app.
So how long did it have you worked on the like planning and building the presentation?
Presentation's probably about a month. I mean, it's really not the slides that tend to be the most time-consuming thing. It's getting the ideas and getting what I want to say, out from my head into something meaningful that's like, I can look at all the slides I want, but I need to know what the story is I want to tell, and like, how do I want to like share this in a way that doesn't sound like incoherent rambling that goes on in my head all the time.
Heard that. So web components.
Yes.
I keep hearing about them. I hear they're fantastic. For the viewers and listeners, web components, what are they? Tell us more.
So it's essentially a way to create a isolated and reusable custom components. You could think the video element in HTML. Like you can recreate your own kind of tag and define it with custom behaviors, methods, properties, or attributes, and do it in a way that is agnostic to any framework. So if you want to use it in, say, Angular, React, Vue, it can be brought in without any issues. It's a standard, so it's shipped in the browsers, Chrome, Safari, Firefox, like all the major browsers support it.
IE6.
We'll
get back to that.
Can I use?
But it's all supported in like the major browsers, and there's plenty of polyfills to get back support. I think to IE11.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Be realistic.
Yeah. And it's just like a great way. It's like if you need something but you don't want to bring in a full framework, it's like here are these low-level kind of widgets, and that's really the part. It's like they're really low level because they're meant to be the building blocks that you can build like your full app out of.
That's super nifty. So I love that they come in like native. That makes me super happy. Like so with Ionic, why did you all? I understand that like you're trying to be like framework agnostic, but like why did you all move to web components as opposed to like making your own kind of thing?
So,
I sense drama.
No, it's
drama.
It's not really drama. We moved to web components, or wanted to, because it's less breaking changes. Like anytime a framework comes out with a new major release, and whatever framework it is, there's always that chance that something could change, broken, and you need to go through an update and release. Which that's great as a builder on one framework or on one toolkit. But if you are like trying to build components all across toolkits, it becomes cumbersome and a lot of things to manage.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, right. It's like breaking things.
Breaking
Love
things.
that. It's my favorite.
So like we moved to web components, but like we also realized like web components themselves are very low level. Like they are. Yeah. There's a lot of manual like setting attributes and properties manually and catching those updates. So we wanted an efficient way. So we are built with web components, but we also have this abstraction that we built called Stencil that allows us to write web components with like JSX, if that's your thing, but in a way that feels much more familiar to, say, framework, Angular, Vue, React developers. And they can come in and start building this way, and then also move over to shipping these components for all their other frameworks.
I feel like he's bragging now. Right?
Well,
Sounds like a lot.
No.
So why would I, as a developer, choose Ionic versus maybe like React Native or something with Vue or anything like that?
I think it comes down to just, again, like we said earlier with Flutter, like what's your team made up of? Are you solo dev? Are you part of a company where there's an excess of native iOS and native Android? Are you part of a team where it's only web developers? Like
one guy doing everything.
One dev just doing something. Like they might not be comfortable trying to learn all of the native technologies, or like having to relearn all these other aspects that happen inside of, say, a native project. Like Ionic, I think we fit a really good middle ground for people who are great with web technologies, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, And the minimal amount of like native code that they would want to touch, they can if they want to, but they don't necessarily have to, and they can still ship cool stuff.
Oh, so things like the AR built-in iOS, AR Core, AR Kit, AR Core for Android. You can actually use the native code and then interface with pieces of Ionic. Is that what you're saying? You can do things like that,
or it all exists as like a ecosystem of plugins.
Yeah.
And you install the plugin. You have a JavaScript API that you can communicate to, and there is a runtime like calling the native code to automatically set that up. Which, it's kind of magical, and you can not even just AR Core or AR Kit, but simple things like maybe geolocation. You can get far better geolocation results than the web implementation, or change the status bar color. Little things like that. It's those are all like exposed through plugins, so it makes it a lot easier to expose to people who aren't necessarily native developers.
Cool. It's very meaningful. Like, I mean, those little things are super meaningful, especially to native developers, I think, for sure, because they're like, well, I really want, the user to know that, the content is loading, for example, right? Like, so having that status bar, like change of color, is like super important.
Right. Or like even it's like, oh, you're for some reason in a network restricted environment, like a conference. Like if you want to be able to like watch where, if you have like something set up, it's like, hey, you're trying to make a request right now, network's kind of down, you can change the status bar to be like a little yellow to just like warn the user, like, hey, we're not going to be able to do anything right now. This isn't working. It's like, sorry.
It's a very nice letdown.
It's a gentle letdown. It's like,
yeah.
Did we touch on the part of, now your talk is Ionic for Vue for fast mobile apps?
Yes.
So fast mobile apps. How do we get fast?
They are trademark blazing fast.
Blazing
Whoa,
fast.
they
register trademark or
fancy.
the intent of
the intent. Actually, so this is a side tangent. There was a fun like tweet going out. People like, what are these random words that people doing? Can we just remove things like blazing fast or like all these hip buzzwords and just replace them with badges? And I was like, give me 5 seconds. And I pulled up shields.io and made like badges for all these random things. It's like blazing fast. Here's a URL for it. Add it to your README.
That's hilarious.
So that was my like 5 seconds of like, I did something cool, even though I didn't really do anything. Yeah. So what was the question again?
Why are they blazing?
Why are they blazing fast? So everything inside of them are like lazy loaded, and there was a lightning talk on like I'm making things like fast and speeding up your builds and making your apps actually faster by loading less. So like they're all super fast because they're lazy loaded and
all performant.
Right. And the user doesn't have to set it up. It's all kind of provided out of the box.
Can you configure it though, like what you want loaded first?
You can use things like prefetch to go out and like analyze like what are you trying to load, and if you want to load these specific chunks, here is a way to do that and add it inline into your HTML and see it, just have it load automatically.
Cool. If I wanted to get started with Ionic, or any one of our listeners or viewers wanted to get started with Ionic and Vue together, what would you think are the first kind of steps that they would take?
Where'd it go?
Yeah.
Where'd it go? IonicFramework.com. Shameless plug.
Blazing shameless.
Blazingly shameless. You go. Yeah, the site basically will give you like the rundown and like you want to get started. Here's like JavaScript. Here's a script tag. Here's a CSS tag, link tag, and add it to like a CodePen or Plunker or whatever editor of choice.
Plunker? What is a Plunker?
It was big in the Angular community for a little bit. It's essentially the same online editor experience that you can get.
I'm shook. I'm just gonna be here being shook. Nobody pays attention to me.
We'll put it in show notes.
But yeah, like whatever online editor you want to use, CodePen's famous, pretty nice one. I'm pretty friendly with it. I like it. You can throw the link in there, and it'll just give you access to everything. You start adding Ionic components and just prototyping, getting a hand on it, figuring out, it's like, how do I make this do that? How do I make it do that? And you go from there.
Heard that.
Yeah, we have a crash course video too that I, shameless plug, recorded and put on the site, and kind of went over essentially the same things. Like,
Oh, what's the vanity URL to that?
Oh, it's on YouTube.
Oh.
What?
On YouTube.
Oh, no. Again.
On YouTube.
I like that one.
Yeah. It's up on YouTube. Ionic Vue crash course. Give it a thumbs up, please. Woo!
Yeah. We'll put a link to all that stuff in the show notes.
We'll also like it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll watch it first. I need to know. I mean, maybe I won't like
We'll probably like it.
I spent a good. Actually,
He's like, do you know? He's like crying.
no, so I started recording it. Had to leave for a trip, and I didn't want to change any of my settings or editor state, so I just minimized my editor, minimized the browser for a week, and just kept it like that. It's like font size is the same, everything's the same.
No,
I
I know
plugged
it
it back in.
happened.
No, it worked out. It was positive.
Really?
Everything saved, and I was just like,
Your
What did
computer
you
wasn't
do?
going.
You did a big build
No,
up there. I was expecting like some traumatic failure.
no, it was just a week
And then it was
of
just
my.
like, and it was fine.
It was
No,
a
it was
blazing
just-
success.
Blasting off.
It was literally a week of my computer being maybe 90 degrees. Like, can't pick it up. This is really hot. The fan constantly running. It's like, well, battery life is going to suffer for this, but I can't ruin the recording.
That's awesome.
Well, how can we get a hold of you if
Right here.
Oh well.
We also at the conference.
Oh, okay, cool. Just
But yeah,
tap over the shoulder.
what's your website? What's your Twitter handle? How people can find out more
Where do you
about
live?
address.
Your social. It's fine.
Social. Your phone number.
Well, social is 555.
Oh!
555.
Done.
Are you a Tide man or a Downy?
Oh.
Tide, energy efficient, hypoallergenic.
Nice. You heard it here at Tide. So the website.
Basically find me on Twitter, M Hartington, first initial, last name, super easy.
Change it to detective.
Detective Hartington.
Detective Hartington.
Should change it to that.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And then you can have like a cool
Is there a
like,
top
Oh,
level?
yeah.
detective.
And you
Is
can
there
be
is
a
there like
code
a top level
detective.
domain name for like Hartington.detective?
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
Or DET.
DT. Yeah. And you're the code detective.
Oh my gosh! Brandon!
Just
Fucking boom.
change your entire branding. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm no longer the bearded man. I am
The code detective.
get like the pork pop hat and the
Yeah.
trench coat. Just
Yeah, that could be your mark on your website.
You have Carmen Sandiego in the background.
Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
I have not yet.
Have
I
you
really
seen
want
the
to
trailer
that.
though for
Yeah,
Spider-Man
yeah.
Noir? The Nicolas Cage Spider-Man.
Oh.
He just comes and he goes, everywhere I go, it smells like rain.
Awesome.
It's like,
Of
Nicolas
course.
Cage, you hammed it up for this one. God bless you.
That's awesome.
You
Well,
raised
you
your
see a
eyebrow.
Nicolas Cage movie for Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you expect.
You go full-blown Cage.
Yeah. Okay, so the website is what again?
You can find me on Twitter, M Hartington. I mostly post on there. I have a site. I don't really use it as much as I thought, but mhartington.io.
Nice. All right. And, let's last question. If any kind of words of wisdom, anything you'd like to bestow upon the audience,
Mr. Detective.
Mr. Detective.
Be nice to each other.
Oh, that's so cute. I love it.
It is. Oh no, I
It
mean,
makes
no,
my soul
100%.
smile so much.
yeah, I mean, there's no reason
Yeah.
to be a dick. Like
Yeah.
nobody wants to work with a dick. Nobody wants to, be around you. So yeah, just be nice and
Yeah.
help each other out.
Yeah.
That's the
great
meaning of life,
advice.
right?
Yeah.
Boom.
I like it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Detective.
I feel like we should group hug after
I'm on
that.
the way.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Time to find another clue. It's like a reimagining Blue's Clues, but like a noir.
Oh my God.
Stop. That needs to be on your website.
Well, that's gonna be your whole brand.
We're branding you now.
Oh,
It's just
I
like-
have an idea. Oh, this is going to be a horrible idea.
It's gonna be great.
We're
It's gonna
excited
be
for it.
fantastic.
We're excited for it.
So stay clued.
Stay clued.
Stay clued.
Stay clue.
Stay tuned for the
Bye.
Blues Clues. Doodles.
Thank you.
I love